We are almost live. Yes.
All right. Okay, shall we begin? So I think we are live now, Manbeena. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, and welcome to the Author Experience Conversations, Manbeena Sandhu.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
And pleasure having you with us on the conversations. As you know, it's a cool, casual, candid conversation, and the format is very informal and casual, right? So you joined in from Toronto in Canada. How's the weather up there?
It's cold,
It's very
but it's
cold,
nice. I still go for my walks. Yeah.
right? And how has the new year begun for you?
It's been good. It's just a good feeling to know that we're out of 2020. It's behind us. So that's it by itself is a good feeling.
Right.
So whatever happens, we'll see next. But for now, it feels good that 2020 is behind us.
Right. So 2020 has been a year which has been troublesome for a lot of people. At the same time, we also see it as a year which could actually be a golden opportunity for people to spend time with their families
Yeah.
in a fast-paced VUCA world. What are your thoughts
Yeah.
on that?
Yes, it gave people a lot of opportunity to stay home, to bond. Yes, but so many unfortunate incidents also happened that it's different for everyone.
Right. So,
The life that, yeah,
right. And
yeah.
how's Canada responded to the coronavirus?
Oh, we are a very, we are a very, we played very safe, extra safe. So right now also we're in lockdown. Everything is closed, nowhere to go. I think it's not very good. This lockdown is not good for your mental health. A lot of people are suffering because of that. We need to go out and have a cup of coffee outside, sit
Right.
outside. You can't mingle, you can't meet.
Right.
Canada is very strict. In a way, it's good, but it's not so good for one's mental health.
Right. And are people also self-disciplined in terms of socializing and things like that, or is
Yes,
it
Canadians are. Canadians are. Yes, they don't
the-
take many chances.
they don't take
Yeah,
chances, and
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's why you probably better contained than a lot of other countries.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Yes, the isolation is taking a huge
Toll.
toll on people's mental, emotional health. And since you
Yes,
do a lot of work in counseling, I'm sure that you kind of work with several people who are feeling the pangs of isolation. What are your thoughts?
yeah. They are. They are. It's really people have developed new mental health problems. People who had mental health problems have gotten worse. So it's difficult for children, especially to keep them. Oh, you cannot have play dates. You cannot go out with your friends. You cannot, and their school is sometimes online, and sometimes they're going in person. So everything is sort of just haywire. So yeah, it's taking a toll on people and really waiting for life to get back to normal.
Right. And
Yeah.
was your book launched during the pandemic, or was it launched a
Yes.
little bit during the
Yes,
pandemic? Yeah.
unfortunately, yes, yes. I had different plans, of plans of visiting India and doing the launch and going on a tour and all that kind of Corona came in and changed everything. So it's been all online.
So nothing to lose in the times of pandemic, huh? Right.
Yeah, yeah,
So
nothing to
so
lose.
that is the name of your second book, and we will talk
Yes,
more about it a little later. But to
yeah.
begin with, Manbina, I mean, you're an author. You've written 2 books. Do you want to start by telling us a little about your life journey, your story? What all have you done in this lifetime? Do you want to start by telling us a little about that?
Yeah, I can start with, yeah, I was born in India and raised mostly in Chandigarh. So I
Right.
said liberal parents, they were very open-minded and kind of supported
Right.
whatever I wanted to. So I loved reading. A
Mhm.
lot of my basic field of interest was New Age,
Right.
philosophy, spirituality, and so I read lots of philosophers and these New Age gurus and thinkers, and during my teens.
Right.
And one day I chanced to lay my hands on a book of Osho. It was a small pocket book, and it
Right.
was right across my. I used to study in GCG, so right across there was, Lajpat Rai Bhavan, and they had that book of exhibition, and I went there and I picked up a book of Osho, and that was it. I was completely spaced out after I read it, and I was like, wow, this guy is making some sense. And
Right.
after that, it led me to I wanted to visit the ashram, so I visited the ashram. I made some friends and I listened to their stories of the lives that they had led and how they had come to the ashram. And those stories were so fascinating and so out of the world. that's where I picked up. I'm going to write about this one day. So
Right.
right then I knew that I was one day going to write about, what I was hearing, and so that's how my writing journey started. After with these people, befriending these people, knowing these people. So even though my personal interest in Osho waned with time, in a couple of years, I was not so much interested in it anymore. But my friendships continued.
Right.
So I
Right.
continued listening to them and writing down and what they were talking about, and one larger than life figure that towered in all their stories was Man and Sheila.
Right.
So
Right.
that's how both my books are kind of interrelated. There are common themes in the book. So
Right.
both the books, yeah.
So your first book was Layla in the Sky of Diamonds. But before getting into the books, I just want to know what all have you done besides writing books. I know that you do a lot of counseling for addiction. But prior to that, I mean, what are the different things that you did professionally? Do you want to share that with the readers and participants who are watching this?
Yeah, I had my master's in English literature from Punjab University,
Right.
and basically my field that I'd chosen was going to be writing one day, or and I'd so basically that was it. And when I came here, I did addictions counseling over here in Canada.
Right.
So I started working, and but my basic, and apart from this, I also done TV journalism from Delhi, and basically mass comm field, writing, reading. So that was my area of my education was all in that area. Yeah.
So your training is mostly in mass communications, and of course you graduated in English literature. So
Yes, yes,
the logical journey would be to become a writer.
yes, yes,
Right.
yes. That's where
Okay.
it was all aimed at.
And
Yeah.
and you said you also did a lot of reading of philosophers. So which are some of the
Yeah.
philosophers that you read?
Oh, I can't even name them right now. There's so many. What I didn't read, I can't. I don't know. So yeah, Deepak Chopra, J. Krishnamurti, and
Right.
so there's so many of them.
Right. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So Deepak Chopra, Jiddu Krishnamurti, and then and Osho, of course,
Of
right?
course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But philosophy has so many different branches. Like there's Stoicism, there's the Socratic thought. Have you read any of the Greek philosophers and some of the Roman philosophers, etc.?
Yeah, I have read many philosophers. I don't really remember off my, that this one, but I've read whatever I picked up, I would read, and just okay,
Right.
yeah, that kind of a thing.
And
But
then you
my
said,
yeah.
no, go ahead, please.
Yeah, my interest has been mostly in Buddhism. That's where I read everything and then I stop there. I mean, that becomes the core of everything. So yeah.
Right. And then you said you went to the ashram, Osho ashram. Which one
Yeah.
was that? The one in India or the one in the US?
No. India, Pune ashram.
In the Pune ashram.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So and did you stay there for a couple of years or what?
Not couple of years. I was still in GCG when I went there. So whenever I would get time off my school, the college, I would go there. So I would
Okay.
usually go for a month and then come back. Then another few weeks. It was like whenever I would get time off from college, I would go there, and yeah.
And
And
then and then after a couple of years, you said your interest in the
yes,
commune
yes,
started
there was
waning
too
away.
much narcissism. My own thought, personal thought. I don't say it exists, but that's what my thought was, that there was too much of hedonism and narcissism in the ashram. They all talk about, being egoless, but
Right.
very inflated egos.
Right.
So
absolutely.
that's what I
Absolutely.
felt. Yeah, so that's what I felt, and that kind of, and even Osho's philosophy was very contradictory. So he couldn't hold on to. So he would contradict his own statements. I mean, I'm not saying he's not a great philosopher. Don't get me wrong. He's a great philosopher, a lot of wisdom, but sort of it kind of, I sort of thought, no, it didn't, I couldn't hold on to it for life. Yeah.
Good. And I think I'm happy that you're sharing your thoughts candidly, because I actually call most of them sad gurus, not
Yeah.
sadgurus, but sad gurus, because most of
Yes.
them unfortunately peddle borrowed philosophy, and
Yeah.
they try to package it differently just to
Make
mislead people. And I'm sure you've seen the series, the show on Netflix, which is Wild Wild Country, and
exactly. Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
come to that a little later. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm actually absolutely against all this kind of gurus, because the entire concept of guruism is that it comes from two Sanskrit words, gu and ru, which basically means, gu is darkness and ru is light. And
Mhm.
you actually help people to see the light within the darkness that
Yes,
exists within, because both light and darkness exist within each of us, right?
yes,
So a
yes.
person is lost, to help them to see the light and make them independent, empower them, so that they
Yeah,
are not dependent on you. If you make people dependent on you, you're not a guru,
you're
right?
not a,
And
yeah,
most ashrams, unfortunately, or communes like Osho or Sadhguru or Ravi
yeah.
Shankar, they like making people dependent on them,
Yes,
which is
yes,
very dangerous for people, because
yes,
then what you're doing is you're taking them into a zone where they're dependent on you, and they call themselves seekers, but they're actually escapists.
yes, escapists. And the thing is that a lot of them, when they reach a point in life, like now, most of the sannyasins who were with him are now most in their 70s or late 80s. And when I see people or meet people who personally tell me that they lost a huge chunk of their life, like, how do you get back their life now? They've lost
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah, they didn't
Uh,
get it settled down into a family, they didn't have children, and now they're sort of lost and they're realizing, oh, I just lost my life. So what
yeah,
do you do about it? You feel so sad.
absolutely. And the best years of their life have been stolen by people like Osho, people like, several other
Yeah,
fraudmen, I call them, not godmen, but
yeah,
fraudmen. And unfortunately, what you said is so true. The narcissism and hedonism
yeah,
jumps out of that stage. You
yes,
know,
yes,
I mean,
yes,
I've never been a follower of Osho. I mean, I used to
yeah,
find it very strange that people even bothered. But when I saw Wild Wild Country, I said, what did people see in this man?
yes,
I mean,
yes.
I'm sorry, he's such a
Yeah,
derelict, to use
yeah,
a
it is. Yeah, we have to understand where it was coming from. He was at the right place at the right time. During the
right,
60s and 70s, during the flower power movement, all these people, when the hippie movement just was came to an end here in San Francisco, they said, okay, it's the end of the hippie. Now the
right,
hippie had to go somewhere, so he
right,
decided to go to India and find that guru or the beaches of Goa.
right,
And he suddenly got this license to do whatever you want to do in the name of spirituality and
right,
call yourself a spiritual or a seeker or whatever. So now you can do the same things, be responsible and just live life in a narcissistic way, and just have fun and just say I'm a seeker. So a lot of people got that license, and I think they felt good about it. They felt good about, now they are not just escapists. Now they are in search of something. So
right,
I think
right.
that made them feel good about themselves.
Yeah, I know. I was watching some of the people who were sharing their uh, engagement, if I may call it that. I wouldn't call it a relationship, because a person who's misleading you like that cannot have a relationship with you, right? Uh, their engagement with Rajneesh, and then they were talking about how today they are living a life which is more fulfilling, because many of them have proper families now, and so
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah,
And that gave me this entire insight that, so many of these people are actually being misled by gurus like this, and that's the dangerous trend. And whenever
yeah,
I speak, because I write against this, I speak against, when I speak against this, people who are followers or so-called seekers, they don't
yeah,
like it, and I'm like, be careful, because you're getting entrapped. Why would somebody make you worship a picture of theirs?
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
said, it's so hedonistic, it's
yeah,
so narcissistic, that you
yeah,
want people to worship your picture, to worship your statue.
yeah,
Sadhguru does that, Ravi Shankar does
yeah,
that, and at the
yeah,
same time all these people are involved in such a lot of financial and other frauds, right?
exactly.
For
Yeah.
example, Sadhguru has cases against him for damaging the elephant corridor. His own father-in-law had filed a case against him for murdering his wife,
Mhm.
Sadhguru's wife, and his the father-in-law's daughter. So there's so many cases, and yet you have people who follow these people and
Forward.
turn a blind eye to the truth. Any
Yes.
any insights you have on that you would like to share
No,
with me and the
yeah,
audience?
exactly. I've met, uh, when I went to the ashram, I formed these friendships. I met these people who were,
Right,
some were very beautiful, nice people, and some were, like I said, the same, the ego trip. But when they shared their story, like I said, at the end of your life, or when you're nearing the end of your life, and you
right,
say, I lost my life, and you can't get it back, how bad and helpless you feel that, they left they're at this point in time, they're old now. Life is no more that, have fun, and and now you're looking for that company. You're at 70, you're still looking for a stable partner. I mean,
Absolutely.
you
Absolutely.
feel sorry that life wasted, and not one, not two, and there's so many lives wasted. So
True.
many people, they can't get back their life.
True.
So yeah,
Very
you
true.
have to be careful when you're following these cults or the gurus, or you can't always, if you invest too much of yourself and you sacrifice too much, you cannot get it back. You cannot get that time back.
Very true. And you had some of the most wealthy and affluent people who were following Osho, right? And I would tend to think that many of them are very intelligent, and yet they fell for that entire fraud and that scam where they allowed themselves to get misled.
Yes.
In your interactions with people from the ashram, did you feel that many of them were feeling cheated and defeated already?
Yes, a lot of them. And some will say, yes, I feel that way. Others try to hide it because they cannot tell themselves
Right.
still
Right.
they did something wrong. Or
Right.
they still have their, they're trying to, because if they do that, they're just saying that we ruined our life. So some are still denying, they're in denial. A
Right.
lot of them, they do feel sorry for their lives, but they're still in denial.
They're
And
still
some
in it.
will say that, yes, I did something wrong.
Yes, I saw that. One of the chaps on in that show, Wild Country, is the chap who used to be their legal eagle,
Yeah.
and he still has this awe of Rajneesh, even after knowing what a sick fraud he was, and that kind of gets you thinking that what are these people all about? I mean, what is the reason that they can't really open their eyes? And is it that the belief is so blind that they allow themselves to get completely misled?
And I think somewhere the ego also gets hurt, right? That they put invested so much of themselves in this one person. Even if their belief is shaken, it takes guts to go out and say, yes, I did wrong, or I feel that I did wrong. So
Right.
that's also plays a big part.
So it's all about living in denial and not being accountable and responsible towards the self and towards the others. Is that what you're
Yes,
saying?
yes,
Yeah.
yes. I feel a lot of them are in denial. Maybe
Right.
there are some like who are still out there, and um, but many of them I've seen are in denial. Yeah.
Right. So when you decided to kind of cut out from this, what is the feeling for you? I mean, from being somebody who was inclined towards the commune and the ashram, to understanding that I need to kind of move away from this. What led to that, and how did you feel after you moved away from it?
It was very gradual. It was not planned. It was
Right.
very gradual. I went there, and I had not changed my life in any way. I had not
Right.
like given up and gone there. I was still. It was more like doing trips.
So
Okay,
it was more of a exploratory kind of
yeah, more of
trip.
just
Yeah.
okay. I'm taking a trip to Pune, so okay, I'll go visit the ashram, and this is so. My life had not changed in any way, and
Right.
I call myself like I met some people and realized where they were, because
Right.
here it is Osho is teaching how to live without ego and all these talks, sugar coated words, and it
Right.
inflates your ego. And that is one thing I noticed in every sannyasin. I will say inflated ego. Okay,
Right.
there are some exceptions all the time,
Right.
but most of them I saw were so I know the best, or this is what we are, or you're lesser people. We are
Right.
more wise, and we have more wisdom, and the ordinary, the mundane is below us. So that kind of I think it was a very common thread that I saw in the ashram among sannyasins, and that kind of too much on ego trip,
Right.
when spirituality is about being egoless. So that
Absolutely.
kind of drove me away, and I said, no, if this is what you're learning here, then this is not where I want to be.
Very true. And so you have these people, and I just won't single out Rajneesh, but you have all these gurus who talk about living without ego, living an enlightened life, which basically means austerity and simplicity, because that is the
Yes,
way one should live to
yes,
truly live a content life, right?
yeah,
And yet on the other side, you see their egos are so big because they want those big thrones which they sit on,
yes,
right? And
yeah,
then you have a fleet of some some 70 odd Rolls Royce limousines.
Yeah.
How does that work?
How to, yeah, for Rajneesh, it was Zorba the Buddha, right? Okay,
Right,
he got two things together: be materialistic and yet be spiritual. But it's not easy, you know, to walk, and that edge is not not everybody can do something like that. So
right,
though you can say, oh, okay, you can have the material possessions and still stay spiritual, many of them will just have the material possessions and
right,
enjoy, and you know, have a good old time, and just say, okay, I'm still spiritual. But
right,
that doesn't work, that doesn't always work. Like, you can, you know, you got a license to do everything, you know.
right.
It's just
Very true.
that you got license to do whatever you want to do. So that kind of thing. So
Very true.
yeah, it's
So you
very
so
tricky.
so you take Zorba the Greek and you take Buddha and you create Zorba the Buddha, and then
Buddha, yeah,
that entire concept misled so many thousands of people. Anyway, we'll
yeah,
leave Rajneesh for the time being. Let's talk about your
yeah,
first book, Laila in the Sky with Diamonds.
yes.
What is that book all about? Because that's a fiction book.
Yes, yes, it's a historical fiction, I would say. It is all on the flower power movement of the 60s and the 70s.
Right,
And this also, the idea came right from the ashram, because when I went to the visited the ashram, I met a lot of sannyasins who were former hippies.
right,
Okay, so they had come to India in search of their new age guru or the messiah, and they many of them went to beaches of Goa, and then they decided, okay, now enough of this, so let's go to the ashram. Or they were just, you know, shuttling between Goa and the ashram. So I listened to, so I became friends with them, and I listened to their stories,
right,
like such fascinating stories.
right,
And that's where the book comes from. She's Leila is one of those women who went to India in the 60s and the 70s. So I've captured the, you know, born in 50s, New York of the 50s and all that, 60s, the swinging 60s, and then the 70s, and then she comes to India to, and she's one of those hippies, and she's one of the women, you know, it's historical. So she's not like completely out of my fantasy. I met many Leilas in real life. So
right. So you
yeah,
took all the people that you met and you created this composite character called Leila,
yes,
and
yes,
tell the story of the flower power movement and the hippie movement.
yes, yes,
So
yes.
what I'm hearing you say that many people in the Rajneesh ashram were former hippies or current hippies who are actually
Yes,
still trying to find their roots because
yes,
it
yes,
was a confused generation, right?
yes, yes, yes.
Yes.
So you
Okay.
want to hold on
And
to something, right?
you want to hold on to something. You need somebody else to lead you. You need to follow something, right? And I
Yeah,
think many religions have
yeah,
actually been peddled on that thought. I personally am not religious
yeah,
and I don't believe in any god. And I'm also a leadership coach, and sometimes people, when I tell them that I don't believe in any god, I'm not a believer, they find it very strange that I'm like, all religions teach you principles and values, and that's what leadership coaching is all about. We teach you values. You don't need to follow any religion
yeah,
to be a good person,
yes,
to be a good human being. And
yeah,
what's the point of following
yeah,
any religion or any
correct.
cult and then doing everything wrong when you're not
Yeah,
when you have
yeah,
compromised the principles and and human values, right? So and that's exactly what we
yeah,
do, because most of what most of these godmen or gurus try to teach is based on ancient
mm,
sciences like Enneagram was a science which was formalized in the
mm,
1920s by by a psychologist called Gurdjieff, and that's where the
mm,
mandalas and
yeah,
the whirling dances
yes,
and all come from, right? And the whole idea was to find your center, to find the balance, right?
mm,
And then, of course, in 1930s, Ichazo formalized the science and said that there are 9 personality types, and if you see the entire foundation of the ashram, Rajneesh ashram, is rooted in the learning from the Enneagram, right?
yeah,
I don't know if you've heard about the Enneagram. So Enneagram
yeah.
is
No,
like
I know
it's a
the group.
10,000-year-old science which has passed through the Sufis, and it's all about understanding yourself. It's
Yeah,
about self-awareness, what is now called as
yeah,
leading with emotional intelligence,
mm,
which is
mm,
understanding about yourself, self-awareness,
yeah,
self-management, and then how do you manage your relationships and your engagement with society.
Yeah.
or the community at large. And that's exactly what the learning is, and that's what leadership and life lessons are all about. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, you have all these charlatans, as I call them, who you know, kind of with their very sleek chicanery,
Modify, yeah, modify and
modify,
strategize.
and that modification can be good, but it is not good, because you know, if you're modifying something just to mislead people, then it becomes a dangerous trend,
Yeah.
right? uh, so what inspired you to finally begin writing? I mean, what is that trigger point? Like for me, the trigger point, you know, I started my first book in 2010, which is called Karma Kari. And I remember in a press conference, a journalist asked me and actually said to me, she said, who will read your book? Who will read your stories? Who wants to know about these ordinary people and unsung heroes? You should write about Shahrukh or Tendulkar or somebody who's well known. And I said, they don't inspire me, you know. But
Yeah.
a domestic you know, servant, if there's a domestic house help who has found a way to build a huge hospital, I said, that's an inspirational story.
Inspiring.
And
Yeah.
I want to be a historian for them. I want to be, you know, the storyteller for them, because nobody's telling their story, because neither was the press, nor were any magazines, nor were any portals you know, kind of reporting stories, true stories of real heroes at that time.
Mhm.
And that's how it started for me. And now, of course, it's become a book series. So how did it start for you? What is your trigger point?
My trigger point, see, I can say I was always very fond of reading and writing.
Right.
While growing up, I used to write a diary every night before going to bed. I would write my diary, and it was a way of expressing my emotions to myself. Whatever I could talk to myself better while writing. You know, it made me feel good. It made me
Right.
feel light.
So
And
cathartic for you.
yes, yes, it was a form of catharsis. So just write down whatever comes in. So from there, I just picked up this habit where I just started. I would it became a part of me. Like if I had to feel good or clear my mind about something, I would just write it down.
Right.
And then the trigger point was, of course, my visit to the ashram. That was the trigger point. When I listened to all those stories, I knew I was going to pen them down one
Right.
day. I knew I was going to write about it one day. So that was my biggest trigger point, being in the ashram and listening to the stories of those people.
Very nice. So you got,
Yeah.
I think the best thing to come out of the ashram for you is that you had this library of human beings whose
Yes,
stories inspired you. That
real life cases, like
right,
where I could, and I put them in a fictional form. I don't have to reveal their identity, but I can use their stories. And
right.
so it was. That's why there's. It's not completely fictional. My book, of course, biography is biography, but even the other one is historical. It's real, as close to reality as possible.
Right. So
Yeah.
that's amazing, because you know, I mean, today the world over you have human libraries, and
Yeah.
we are planning to do that on our Karma Dishum website also. And the
Yeah.
concept of human libraries is, if you're feeling a little emotionally down or mentally or spiritually down, you can just walk into one of those libraries, and there are people sitting there, and you can go and choose
Awesome.
anyone you want to sit with and share your story. I actually do a 10-minute to a half an hour activity in this on this in our leadership workshops, where I get
Yeah.
people to kind of just pair up and share a true story about a high point in their life, right? And the refreshing insights that they get by revisiting that story, which is probably around
Yeah.
20-25 years ago, is
Yeah.
so kind of energizing for them. And
Yeah.
and it's all rooted in neuroscience, because when you revisit an old story which gave you a high point in life,
Yeah.
the happy chemicals in your brain start flowing. And you know, it's all
Mhm.
neuroscience,
Mhm.
and that's exactly how
Yes.
people start feeling good about themselves. I
Yeah.
mean, you are an
Yes.
addiction counselor, so you know, the more you help people to feel good about themselves
Yeah.
is when they
Yeah.
either come out of depression or addiction and so on. It's all about
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
those happy chemicals to flow. We've covered this extensively in our Mojosh Inspirator book, where we call it the Mojosh dosage of happiness.
Mhm.
Dosage is an acronym for the happy chemicals, and the G, of course, is not a chemical in the dosage, which is gratitude. That you have to be grateful for your life, right? You have to
Yes.
have great
Yes.
gratitude. It's not just about feeling blessed on Facebook, but truly being
Yeah.
being happy and grateful for being alive,
Happy.
for having a life, for having what you have, rather than complaining about what you don't have. And I think a
Mhm.
lot of people live in that zone. And in the United
Yeah,
States, it's called keeping up with the Joneses, which is actually messing people up,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I
Yes,
agree. I agree absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
So coming to Nothing to Lose, Nothing to Lose is more like a biography for Ma Anand Sheila,
yeah.
right? And what's the central theme of the book?
Central theme is basically the personal life journey of Mashila.
Right,
Her how she her the personal side of her,
right,
not the what the media has portrayed. Not that there is too much of a, but there are a lot of things people didn't know, the
right,
little things, the
right,
small things, the
right,
things in the background, you
right,
know inside the four walls. So
right,
that's what I have tried to bring to the people, to see her as closely as possible, to peep into her heart and her mind, and to listen to the conversations behind closed doors, and
right,
witness activities that happen behind closed doors. So it's just to bring you as close to Sheila as possible.
right. And
Yeah.
and and is this like a book which helps to rebuild a positive image for her?
I have not gone out of my way to bring a positive image. I have tried to present her as she is, or as it is, things as they are. I have
Right,
not taken sides. I have tried to say as just present things as they are. That's what I try to do in my book. So you see Sheila with all shades of black, white, and gray.
right,
There's no trying to whitewashing her, or trying to make her look good. No, whatever I heard from her, I wrote it down, and I wrote it down as as things were. So there are
right,
no saying, proving things that this is no, things were like this or things were like that.
right,
Still, the reader is can judge for himself what happened
right,
or what didn't happen. He can still free to make his judgments. So I
right.
have not made the judgments for the reader.
Okay, okay.
Still the reader can do it.
So you kind of given them some facts and help them to probably get an insight and left it to
Yes.
them to choose whether she is right
Yes.
or she is not
Yes.
on the right. Is that what
Exactly.
you're
So
saying?
they can make their own decision. I have presented things as they are. So they're wise enough. The reader is wise enough to make his own decision. Yeah.
The reason I'm asking this is because when I sent out the mail and when I sent out, a lot of people wrote to me that Man and Sheila is this and that, she's evil, etc. Some wrote to me saying that what is it that made you even think about getting somebody to talk about Man and Sheila? She's completely evil. And then some felt that she was the one who kind of betrayed Rajneesh. Some of these people are still Rajneesh fans, right? And so there was a mixed bag of feelings coming from all over. And the reason people were saying that she's evil is because they said, she's tried to poison people, mass poisoning. She's tried to kind of get people assassinated, and it's all there. It's all stark and out there. And I believe that she also has another autobiography or something where she's also tried to
Yeah. Yeah.
clear her name. And of course she talks about serving 2 years in prison, and that she now has earned her right to a life all again. Uh, that said, there was many readers who felt that 2 years was too
No,
little.
no, 39 months. Yeah.
39 months, right? So 39 months was too little punishment for the several crimes that were committed by her, even if it was at the behest of Rajneesh, because she did have her own mind to think and choose what she had to do. Do you want to kind of throw some light on this?
See, I'm not, I won't sit here and judge and say this was too little or too much. So
Right.
whatever it was, it was.
Okay.
Okay. My basic thing is whatever, I'm no judge. I'm not going to see that this was right or wrong that happened to her. But whatever happened, happened. And there are some questions you will never get answers to.
Right.
There are people have to live with it, that there is never going to, there's just going to be speculations, there's still going to be guesses, there's still going to be, oh, did this happen, did it not happen, kind of thing. And certain things we have to make peace with, that no, we will never find the answers.
Right.
We, no matter how much whoever we listen to, we can listen to Osho himself, we can like I listen to Sheila, but there are few things that we will never find an answer to. So I think if we make peace with it, we'll be better off. So I will not say if it was good for her, more for her, less for her, if she was right or if she was wrong. Whatever she was, she was. Whatever she did, she did. And there were circumstances that led her to do what she did.
Right.
We all of us, we humans are put at a point in our life where we do not do things that we would ideally do. We
Right.
are forced to do things that our situation demands.
Right.
We have to make our decisions right at that point amid the pressures that we are getting, the what we think is right at that point to do. And of
Right.
course, our actions can get colored by our emotions. We may do something wrong, but at that point, that was the demand of the situation. So how
Right.
can I be a judge here and say what she did? So I do. Her pressures were different, her demands were different, all those things, got together to make her do what she did.
Right. And I completely agree with you that circumstances can make people do wrong things. But
Yeah,
one can debate this, because what kind of circumstances? Because if it's circumstances to kind of live a luxurious life, then that's not really a circumstance which is forcing you to do things. But if it's a
yeah.
circumstance because I'm dying of hunger and I have to steal, then that probably can be justified, because I'm dying
Yes,
of hunger because somebody has marginalized me. But I don't think Sheila can actually say that somebody had marginalized her and that she had no choice, because it
no,
was a
I would
choice to
say
do.
it's yeah, I would say it was the intention behind the action,
Right.
not
Right.
the action, but the intention.
Right.
So there's a difference. If your intention is right and your action somehow goes wrong,
Right.
that's then I say it's wrong. But if
So
your start with your intention is wrong, then the action, of course, is wrong. So
so when you
that's
say
what
that, when you say the intention was right, what was that intention?
I'm not saying the intention. I'm not saying. I'm saying for her, I would say
Okay.
whatever the intention behind the action is what matters.
Right.
I'm saying general rule of thumb, in my opinion,
Right.
it's your intention. So that's where it comes to for anybody. It's your intention behind your action.
Right. So the people who made Wild Wild Country have
Mm.
written your foreword. Am I
Yeah.
right? Right. I forget their names.
No,
Uh,
not the forward. That yeah, on the they've written.
One of the testimonials,
Yeah.
I think, about
Yes.
your book.
Yes.
What are the names?
Chapman.
Okay.
Chapman.
So have you interacted with them? Have you
I
got
have not.
got
No,
some
I have not
insights from
interacted
them
with
also
them.
for your book?
No, I have not interacted with them personally, but uh, uh, my editors have, and my editor has. Yeah.
Oh, okay, fine. So have you seen the Wild Wild Country series?
Yes, yes, of course. I've seen it quite a few times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, you spoke about the intention, we spoke about the action, we spoke about a choice, because finally everything boils down to choice, right? I
Yeah.
can choose to do right, or I can choose to do wrong. It's not
Yeah.
that someone else can make me do it, because finally, I have to take accountability for my actions. I have to take
Mm.
responsibility for what I do, because every choice has a consequence, right?
Yes.
That's the basic learning from any holy book, or
Yeah.
from any religious book, or any book based on principles or philosophy, that what the choices we make lead to our consequences and our fate and our destiny, right? Now,
Right.
I've seen Wild Wild Country, and
Hmm.
and this is a personal observation. uh, Throughout those 5 episodes, I think there are 5 or 6 episodes, I forget now, I was looking for some remorse, some regret in Sheila, that I did something wrong. I didn't find that. What are your thoughts on this?
See, first of all, Wild Wild Country is not Sheila is a star in it, but she's not the focus.
Right.
Wild Wild Country is the story of a rise and fall of a cult.
Right.
Okay, Sheila is the main character, but that's not her personal life story. That's not her personal journey. You don't look into her mind, into her heart, into what's actually going on inside her.
Right.
It's basically the story of Rajneesh and his followers and how things happen. And as far as Sheila did what she did, what was demanded of her. So
Right.
her pressures were different. Her situation was different, and she did what she thought was right to do at that point.
Right.
Keeping in mind her situation. So we can. I told, as I said, there are a few questions that will never be answered,
No,
So
and I'm
we
not, I'm,
have
I'm not, I'm not looking for
people.
answers, since a lot of
Yeah,
readers who had, posed questions to me, I'm just bringing them to the fore because they are watching us on Facebook right now as we
yeah,
speak.
yeah,
And I completely agree with you that it's more about the rise and the fall of the cult, right?
yeah,
And though it's about the Rajneesh ashram, she has a pivotal role in
yeah,
setting up that ashram, right?
yes,
She has a pivotal responsibility in a lot of things which were done in the name of the ashram,
yeah,
which includes harming the community, which includes poisoning people, which includes even getting out a, a hit on some of the people from the government at that time, right? Now, I, and she's alive today, so that's the reason she's the pivotal character also in the series. My question is, it's not about what she did right or wrong at that time because she thought it is right. My question is, today you know it is wrong. Where is the remorse? Where is the regret? For atonement, for redemption, one has to accept that I have done something wrong and then redeem yourself. And that redemption starts with the regret that you accept and understand and acknowledge that you've done something wrong. Because if you don't acknowledge that you've done something wrong, you're not really transitioned, you're not really transformed. Now, this is the science of forgiveness, right? And I've studied several people. So in my book Mojo Inspirator, we talk about 5 intelligences, right? Physical intelligence, emotional intelligence, mental intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and moral intelligence. Now, moral intelligence has not been covered by too many authors or scientists or philosophers, right? And the concept of moral intelligence is that I can do wrong because I chose not to do right. But when I do wrong, do I have the honesty and the courage to accept that I have done wrong, acknowledge it to myself, and then seek forgiveness by redeeming and atoning for what I have done wrong? Right. So for example, the one of the people profiled in the book, his name is Sasha murdered somebody at the age of 19 and then spent 20 years in prisons in the US, right? And in his initial years, when he was imprisoned and tried for murder, he tried to beat the system. And he says, I found myself becoming more and more evil and more nasty with myself. But the day I accepted that I had done something wrong by murdering somebody and didn't want to beat the rap, right? The rest of my years in prison were liberating. And he's now come out of prison and is an MIT fellow. And he started something called the Atonement Project and the Prison Reforms Program, where he says that, we need to make the prisons of the United States fit enough for humans to live, because right now even animals should not be put in those prisons. So here's a man who's atoned. He's redeemed himself by acknowledging that he's done something wrong. I'm giving an example that I don't see that atonement in any of the clips where you had Sheila talking on Wild Wild Country.
See, I would say that here we are making it a fact that she did something wrong. Whereas, let me point out that in the ashram, there was so much politics going on.
Right,
For a normal person like you and me to make our guesses and come to conclusion that she was the one who did this, or who was which group did, was there was so much, probably so much happened that we don't even know the names of those people who were behind some of the biggest things that happened in the ashram. There were groups, there were plans, there were things that were carried out. There were so many groups in the ashram, and so many people were doing all sorts of things. So for us to say that she's not, we don't see remorse, is that we're believing that she was the one who did everything else, and turning a blind eye to the rest of the people or the rest of the politics that is probably not has been brought to light.
right,
So I would just say, as much I can say what I see, right?
right.
What I have
Absolutely,
seen is
absolutely.
that,
In,
yeah,
in,
when I,
in my humble opinion and in your humble opinion,
yes,
we
yes,
keep an open mind to agree and
yes,
disagree. Yes, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
So when what I have heard and what I have seen when I visited her in Switzerland,
Right.
I have seen she runs an old age home for these people in need, and uh, these people who have who are challenged in some form or
Right.
the
I
other.
saw. I
And
saw
I
that.
have
That.
received, I see her feed them, make them walk, and they are so attached to her that they cannot. If she's there, some people will get jealous. Oh, Sheila, talk to me. Why are you talking to her? Like,
Right.
I have seen how much they love her and how much love she puts in their lives and how much she's trying to give them a good life. I feel even if a sinner lived that kind of life for 10 years, he has redeemed himself. I'm saying,
Right.
not that I'm
Right.
saying that anybody, but that life that she is living is really, she's doing a lot for those people, for those lives, and that I have seen with my own eyes and experienced it firsthand. So I can
Right.
say, yeah, if a person is living that kind of a life, and she's been living that kind of a life for so many years, so
Right.
I can say that, if you say, somebody says, so even if I'm not saying she, even if she did something, she's done a lot of good too.
Right.
You can't close your eyes and say, oh, I'm not going to look at what she's doing now, because a lot of
Right.
us can be sinners in small ways.
Right.
Maybe there are
Right.
no movies made on us, or maybe nobody can look inside our doors as to what we've done. But here is
Right.
a person who has been in the public eye, and has for so many years run these care homes where she's personally looking after those people. I mean, if
Absolutely.
I somehow, for one day I'm looking after so many people, and taking out my day and feeding them and looking after their needs, really looking after their needs, you do get a feeling of satisfaction. You go to bed feeling good.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing you say, the insights I'm getting from what you just said is that one, maybe she was not involved in a lot of what is being attributed to her, like the poisonings or the
Maybe you
maybe.
and I don't have the facts, right?
Right.
We
Right.
don't have the facts.
And maybe that there were other groups, because there were the several groups which all vied for Rajneesh's attention and his
Yes,
favor. So maybe
yes.
there were other groups which played games with each other. So then why did she take the rap for it?
No, maybe she did. I'm not ruling out anything.
Right. Right.
I'm not
Right.
ruling out
Okay.
anything.
And
I'll take it.
and I'm simply provoking a thought process. I'm simply
Yeah,
provoking a
yeah,
thought
yeah.
process.
I'm
Yeah.
saying there are few things, few questions we will never get an answer to.
Right.
Things
Right.
happen.
So
Things happen. Who
there
was
is
trying to bring down who today? Where is Sheila? Sheila is getting nowhere. She's nowhere in the ashram, right?
right.
There
And
are other people, people you
abs-
don't know, who are
right,
gaining the profits of his, Osho's
of his
legacy.
legacy.
Yeah. So where is Sheila? Sheila's not there, sitting somewhere
Right.
in
So
wherever
so
they're
so
sitting in
who
Hong Kong or whatever.
right,
So
right. I remember there was this wife of the person who produced Godfather, who
mhm.
along with her
Yeah,
partner is another group which is
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
kind of
Hollywood group.
get more of Rajneesh's favor, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know who runs the commune right now, but surely somebody is exploiting
And
the
Sheila is an
legacies.
outcast. She's not
Yes,
welcome in the commune. She's not allowed in the commune. So who's getting all the benefit? Why
right.
isn't, if Sheila was so smart and so calculated, why isn't she getting all the money? Why is she not, today, why is she not in that favorable place in the position in the ashram?
Right. So that's one insight I get from you, which is that she may have not been directly involved, and maybe a lot of things which are being, which are being thrust on her shoulders has not been done by her. So we'll give her the benefit of the doubt. The second insight I'm getting from you is that her redemption lies in the fact that today she is doing a lot of work with people who are aged, people who are destitute, and taking good care of them, and that's probably her redemption
I
and
wouldn't I
atonement.
wouldn't say that she's saying that it is her form of a redemption. I'm not saying that.
No,
But
this is
when
like
I
this is
look
a
at
view being shared by you is what I'm saying.
yeah, yeah, it is my own personal, not that she is redeeming her. I'm not saying that she's doing just to redeem something. She's doing a good deed, is what I
Right,
say. Where
right,
it is stemming from, I don't know.
right, right,
She's doing good deeds. That's what I see.
right,
I will not judge her deeds by saying that it's a form of redemption, or she's just doing it out of her goodness of her heart, but she's doing good deeds. That much I know.
right. And I'm just going to kind of conclude this conversation with a couple of more queries and just some insights, because I've heard about Rajneesh when he fled back to India, uh, and I think in my growing up days I heard about it more because Vinod Khanna, who was the Bollywood star, was one of the chaps who had
Yeah.
kind of joined the ashram in the US, and then Vinod Khanna came back into movies, and I think he again distanced himself from the cult and the commune. But of course, he continued to be a Rajneesh fan, I think. So I've seen Wild Wild Country, and in Wild Wild Country, after Sheila flees and she leaves the ashram, you know, there's this angry outburst by Rajneesh, where he says he does not know about any of these crimes which have
Yes.
happened, and he actually talks about how she ran away with millions of dollars,
Yeah.
and the first thought which came to my mind is, yes, she did it, but who directed it?
Yes.
And this
Yes.
is for all those Rajneesh fans who think he's still a god.
Yeah.
It was Rajneesh who directed it.
You see, that's what I'm saying. Why are you looking at the person who's gone to jail and served time, and who look at the one who's scot free and who's, look at the mastermind.
Right,
Don't
absolutely.
look at the
and
person who's
that's so stark over there, because you can see him faking it, right? That he's
yeah,
he's feigning anger, right? And
yeah,
he's talking about how she's fled and how she did
yes,
all these wrongs when
yeah,
they want to live in peace. And then you
yeah,
remember that, she used to have this closed door midnight meetings with him,
yeah,
where
yeah,
it's very stark and clear that she was being directed by him to do
yeah,
whatever wrong had to be
yeah,
done, right?
yeah,
Of
yeah,
course, she had a choice not to do it still, but
yeah,
she was so much in awe of him at that time that
yeah,
I think she's still in awe of him. But
yeah.
but the fact is that Rajneesh was the mastermind behind it.
Yes, yes, go to that. I always say that, why go to someone who's been, paid the price, gone there, served time, you know, and why not the person who's the orchestrator is always going to be behind the scenes,
Right,
you know.
right.
It's a simple way
Have
that
you covered portions about this in the book? Did
about,
Sheila give you any insights about who actually the mastermind was?
of course, that's very clear. That's very clear because everything was, she did everything that was that Osho, he would say, he would tell, okay, what is our next course of action, what we should do next, and this and that. And then he went into silence, and she was the mouthpiece. And of
Right,
course, the mouthpiece is taught
right.
by everyone. So one who is in silence and sitting in his den, nobody's going to come after you, right? So,
Yeah, and it's amazing because, I mean, when you see him talking with that anger, that's the only time you feel some energy, because, otherwise all his dances and all that he's doing. I said, I mean, here's a weak, lame man, and how did he inspire people and energize them? So it was purely substances which were being peddled to them or something, because there was a lot of substance abuse within the commune, which is part of what was shown in the Wild Wild Country. And then he completely shirks responsibility, that I didn't know what was happening, and Sheila did it all. And of course, now Sheila
yeah,
can defend herself in a book, but Rajneesh's side of the story, which is being covered from some of the live clips, which were the video clips which are there from earlier, is that he's passed the buck onto Sheila and the few people who fled with her.
yeah,
And
yeah,
then, of course, one of the persons who was very close to Sheila talks about how she regrets spending the best years of her life in that commune. And I think, yeah, so there's a lot to be told. There's a lot which is unsaid. There's a lot which is still kind of very hazy and unclear as to what really happened and how did it all go down. And
yes.
one of the things I've never understood, and maybe you can help me to understand this: how and from where did he get the money to buy so many thousands of acres of land? How did so much wealth happen? Any insights on that in the book?
Sannyasins. First of all, he had some of the richest people in the world following him,
Right,
who made donations.
right,
Okay, and then there were, of course, there were, things that were, so he had so much wealth coming in from his rich sannyasins, and then the lot of communes that were all over the world, there was money coming in from there. So there was no dearth of money. So yeah, and Sheila was doing her arranging funding from here and there, and basically mostly from the donations from the sannyasins. There were
so
lots.
so what you're saying is that the business model was to attract wealthy people who could
Yes,
become
he told himself
sannyasins,
that he's the guru of the rich, So
right?
that was very clear. So there's no doubt.
And then the sannyasins had to kind of contribute a certain amount to become a part
They
of the
didn't
community.
have to. Many
Okay,
of them willingly did,
okay, okay.
willingly or convinced into doing. So yeah,
Right. Brilliant. We have a excerpt from your book which we would like you to read out. So I'm going to pull that up now so that the readers and people who are viewing this on Facebook get some insight from the book itself in the first person. So go ahead. Can you see it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yes. This is about Ma Sheila's first meeting with Bhagwan, the first time that she saw him and she met him.
right.
So, 1965, Baroda. Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh, commonly known as Acharya Rajneesh during his early years, was scheduled to lecture at Mahatma Gandhi Auditorium that evening. Amid the symphony of blaring car horns and the bellowing of street vendors, Sheila and her family waited in a queue to enter the hall. An eager crowd of people pushed and shoved as the line slowly moved forward in an uneasy shuffle. The line came to a halt at the tall statue of Mahatma Gandhi that was erected on a raised pedestal outside the auditorium. Sheila was admiring the sculpture of the bespectacled Gandhi, holding a walking stick and leaning slightly forward when a gray haired man at the entrance asked her for the tickets. Sheila's father presented all 5 tickets and the family was led in. They were seated comfortably in one of the front rows, only a few meters from the stage. Surrounded by a hum of voices, Sheila and her family sat in eager anticipation of listening to this rebellious New Age guru. Suddenly, the lights dimmed and a 34-year-old Bhagwan entered the stage with his palms folded. A gentle smile was spread across his face as he slowly scanned the audience from left to right and then comfortably seated himself with legs crossed on a raised platform. The audience sat in numb silence and a few stood up with folded palms to greet Bhagwan. As Bhagwan motioned everyone to sit, a tiny woman clad in orange scurried onto the stage to adjust the microphone so that the mic was in front of Bhagwan's mouth. Sheila was mesmerized as Bhagwan started to speak in his crisp, hypnotic voice, trailing the end of every sentence into a heart-melting, peaceful hiss. Bhagwan had a wispy black beard, a bald head with long, scanty hair at the back and sides. His large brown eyes, deep and unnerving, seemed to penetrate Sheila's soul, who sat wide-eyed and spellbound. He wore a white lungi and a white stole was wrapped around his bare chest. The world around Sheila seemed to have disappeared as her gaze rested solely on Bhagwan, who was talking about bliss, freedom, spiritual rebellion, and a joyous new world. Slowly, the words and the sounds disappeared around her, and only Bhagwan remained. That was the end, that magical evening of 1965 when Sheila lost herself to Bhagwan. For the duration of his stay in Baroda, Bhagwan was lodged at the house of a man who happened to be Sheila's father's good friend, and the house was not very far from their house. The next morning, everyone in the Patel household dressed eagerly in anticipation of paying a personal visit to Bhagwan. By 9 a.m., they were all at the house where Bhagwan was staying. The family was seated in the living room with legs crossed and palms folded, waiting for Bhagwan to arrive. Sheila sat behind all of them, resting her back against the leg of a sofa. Bhagwan walked in with folded palms and a generous smile. He seated himself comfortably on a wide backed armchair with legs crossed at the knees. He talked with each one of them individually, answering their questions in turn. When it was Sheila's turn to sit directly in front of Bhagwan and ask questions, she just folded her palms in gratitude and stayed silent. There were no questions and no answers. Tears were streaming down the 16-year-old eyes. Life was never the same again for Sheila when Bhagwan left Baroda. He took a piece of Sheila with him. Whatever Sheila did or wherever Sheila met thereafter, Bhagwan was ever present with her, lingering in her memory like a stable backdrop to her changing world.
Very nice. So, it's brilliant to listen to the author read from her own book. And the insight I get from this particular excerpt, and again, I'm just talking purely from insight and to provoke a thought, is that Bhagwan, as she calls him, Rajneesh, used to win the confidence, win the loyalty, probably charm a few people who were in his inner circle so that they would do anything and everything for him. And in that mesmerization, in that awe, is how he got Sheila to do a lot of things for him. And she was in awe of him at the age of 16. And currently also, if you see her talking on Wild Wild Country or on some of her YouTube videos, she's still in awe of him
Yeah.
after knowing exactly what kind of a crook and a fraud and a criminal he was. Why is she still in awe of him?
See, her life has been dedicated to Bhagwan. Okay,
Okay, okay,
her life is just a service to him.
right,
Whatever she did, her love has been, she has unconditionally loved him. She has made sacrifices for him. She has dedicated her entire life to Bhagwan. Okay, so that's her whole thing. So her dedication is so much to him that she still holds him in high esteem till this
right,
date. And she says whatever the 39 months that she spent in prison was her guru dakshina
right,
to Bhagwan Rajneesh. So if she
right.
did that, whatever happened, that was her form of repaying the master.
Right. So it would be right to agree that she is still in awe of him, because I mean,
Yes,
I've only seen videos of her. I've
she's
never met
still
her personally.
absolutely in love with him.
Right.
When I went to Switzerland and I entered her bedroom where we
Right.
would be sitting, it is full of Bhagwan's pictures, Bhagwan and Sheila in good times, dancing. He's pouring a glass of champagne, for some champagne for her, and they dance. It's still you just get thrown back to that time. You go back to that time. You're literally there. It's Bhagwan and Sheila. You enter that room, and that's where she sleeps and she wakes up. First thing when she wakes up, she sees a picture of Bhagwan and Sheila together. So yeah.
So would it be right to then kind of assume that it was much more than just a transactional business partnership and much more, because she was truly in love with him, even though she got
She
married to
was
someone else
truly,
for a while.
she was truly in love with him because there's nobody's entering her bedroom every day to see what
Right.
she's looking at. Okay.
Right.
And she
Right.
still has these pictures everywhere, proves that she still has him in her heart. She
So
holds
he
him very dearly.
so then it would also be and again, it's an assumption that he used that love, he exploited that love and that devotion to get
Yes,
her to do all the things which
all the
were
things.
done in the name of the commune, in the name of
Yes,
so
yes,
so
yes,
so-called spirituality and whatsoever.
yes, yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
Right. And since you kind of work closely with her, some of her videos, even some on YouTube, and some of the clips which I saw in Wild Wild Country, though she's still in awe of him, you also do feel a deep set resentment and bitterness that she has against him. Did you feel that?
Oh,
Hello?
hello. Yeah, I think I lost you there. Sorry.
No, so
Sorry about
I
that.
was saying that, I've only seen videos of her while you met her personally. I was saying that, besides the love and the devotion and the awe that she still has for him, one also gets a sense of a deep set resentment and bitterness, which she has within her against him. Did you feel that?
Of course, she was wronged. No one can deny that. Okay,
Right, right,
there are many people who are living a comfortable, good life, who followed Osho but are in very good place and still walking around the ashram and still, ruling that. And she's the one who was ostracized. She's the
right,
one who was kind of made, she's an outsider. Nobody talk about Sheila. Even today, when you talk about Sheila, there are, it's not a very comfortable thing to talk about Sheila among the sannyasin group. There are a lot of people who still hold her like, oh, you talk about, oh, you wrote about Sheila. So, there's still she's not so of course she suffered a lot.
right,
She gave a lot, and being judged by the entire world,
right.
being judged by the, okay, she's the one in America, especially, it's just Sheila is, okay, she did it kind of thing. So
Right.
it's she paid a lot for what she did. And if she was that clever, she would be scot free and she would be walking, nobody would know what
Right.
you
So
know
it's I think one can kind of simply kind of gauge and reach a conclusion that a lot which was done by her and maybe some of the others who were working closely with her, because she was per se the management of the
Yeah,
commune,
yeah,
was done under the direction and the manipulation and the mastermind of Rajneesh. And of course, she's taken the brunt of it. She's taken
right.
the fall for it. She was the fall person, the fall guy, as we call it, right?
Yeah,
So that,
yeah,
I think we'll conclude discussing about Ma Sheila and Sheila Anand and Rajneesh with that, because the readers should read the book to get more insights about what really happened behind closed
absolutely.
doors, and
Yes,
behind all those curtains and personas which were
yes,
projected to the world of spirituality, of being a do-gooder, being a person who's benevolent. Because actually one gets a very malevolent feeling about how they went about harming the community and harming people. And I think those are the insights people should get by reading your book, Nothing to Lose, because I'm sure that
yes,
Sheila
yes,
has been very candid with you, and you captured it without any bias or prejudice. And that's the feeling I'm
yes,
getting
yes,
as I'm interacting with you, because I've kept pushing you to give me one insight that she did wrong, and you clearly kind of stayed away from there. So thank you for that, Manbeena. But I'm sure that the readers would have their own thoughts, and the whole idea was
yes,
to provoke some thoughts so that they get some insights and understand
yes,
how they should not get misled by
yeah,
any blind beliefs, or by
yeah,
anyone who thinks he's God or thinks he's Bhagwan. Because I mean, the one realization I think which happened for Rajneesh is that at least he's not Bhagwan, because he changed
yeah,
it from Bhagwan to Osho,
for
right?
sure.
But initially he reveled in
Yeah,
promoting himself as a Bhagwan.
yeah,
Finally,
yeah,
coming to, because there are a lot of budding authors and writers who will be watching this on Facebook currently as we speak, and of course later on when we keep sharing it all over the pages and groups where we have access. So a lot of people in India now want to write books. Self-publishing has become a huge industry in India, and a lot of people get their books self-published, which I find very defeating. Because if you just get a book self-published and get 50 copies to show your relatives and family and friends that you published a book, that's kind of defeating and cheating oneself. And then you'll see a trend on Facebook where every third name now has author and TEDx speaker written below their name, right? And I find that again very false, and like fake it till you make it types, right? uh, Manbeena, you're a published author, right? And you've gone through the process, right, from developing the thought to creating the script and sharing your manuscript with publishers and then getting your book published. Do you want to just walk us through what are the simple uh, planning and preparation that you had to do, and was it easy for you to get your first book published? And just share this for the benefit of the budding and aspiring writers.
see, I feel that if first of all you have to have your, it has to be inside you. My story, the story, that both the books, they're intertwined about the 60s, movement. So that I knew what I was going. It was kind of oozing to come out. It was brewing inside for many, many years, for decades. It was, it was just inside me. The story was developing. So it was not that one fine day I picked up a pen. I said, oh, now let me think of a story and let me write. It didn't happen that way. So you or every person I feel has a story inside that has been brewing for many years. So I think you should give thought to what is bubbling to come outside, and work on that rather than just creating a story. So something that should come out from inside of you, that you would feel incomplete without expressing it.
Something which really touches you, something which
Yes,
you are
yes.
passionate about, is what you're
It should
saying.
be genuine. It should be right from inside you. Something you feel that if you know, for one, I knew I was not going to die without writing a book.
Right,
That is my thing, that I'm going to delay death even if it takes long, but I'm going to write this book because it is something I need to do. So
right.
that has to be one thing inside, that passion and that thing to express has to be inside of you. And then when you get into it, write your chapters, approach the right person who can help you. As for me, it was Mr. Anuj Bari, the literary agent. He was very helpful. So find your own, someone you with the right person. Yeah, put your work in his hands, and I'm sure they can guide you right. As for me, he put the book in the right hands, and so I go from there. So it should be. I feel it should be work of. As for me personally, it was, even though the book had been brewing for a long time, the biography was very spontaneous because I found Sheila. I was actually, I had been searching for Sheila for a very long time. Earlier, didn't know her exact address. But after Wild Country came out, I picked up the phone. I had her address was right there, and I talked to her and I expressed my desire that I wanted to write on her. She said, "Come, I need to see you before I give you this thing to write." So I flew down there, and she was like, "Okay, we're good." She got a good vibe from me. And I said, just go with the flow, but keep pursuing what you really want to do. I didn't
Right.
delay. I didn't say, oh no, I cannot come to Switzerland. I need to be there because I need to
Right.
write this.
So
So I think
you invested time, money, effort into making things happen.
everything.
Right.
Yes,
Right.
yes,
Right.
yes. You
Because you
have
had
to
to,
give it 100%.
yeah, you had to fly down and meet her in Switzerland, move all the way from Canada to another part of the world,
Yes, yes.
and yeah,
And at that time, I didn't know if I was going to write a biography.
right.
She said, "Come and I will see
Yeah.
if you can." She had to get that vibe from me that I was not there to manipulate her and
Right.
her words.
But had any publisher commissioned you for this, or you did this purely on your own?
I did it all on my own. I did
Okay.
it all on
Okay.
my own. Of
Okay.
course, there were a lot of offers on the book when my agent got it, and then we made our own choice. But yeah, I did it. I didn't have this thing of okay, I'm going to get it. I just got her. What mattered was that I'm writing her book.
Right.
Rest came later.
Right. And the last conversation that we had in the author experience conversations, we started on the 3rd of January 2021 with Mr. GBS Sidhu, who was a director with RNAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, and we spoke about the Khalistani conspiracy and how the Gandhi family had a huge role in promoting the Khalistani movement. And one of the viewers who was watching reached out to us and said that we would like to consider about making this into a movie script. Have you had any offers from any movie makers in India or overseas who have approached you to make a film or a OTT series out of the book?
Not yet, not yet. The whole Bollywood has kind of gone into silence after, the timing is such that, of all that happened in the Bollywood, the whole thing. So I think everybody's gone into a hushed mode. Everybody's kind of sitting on the fence. And there's been a lot of silence in Bollywood for now. But I think the times will change it. And yeah, I look forward to more
And
work.
you do see this becoming into I mean, turning into a movie someday.
Yes, one dish for sure. Yes.
Okay. Okay.
That's
Great.
how I feel. Rest, whatever happens, happens.
Brilliant. And so the insight for the budding writers is that, write something that you're passionate about, that you truly feel about, something that truly touches you, and then find yourself a proper literary agent who can
Yes.
get you a book deal or get your book published by one of the leading publishers, because there is
Yes.
a difference between being self-published and a published author. And I think a
Yes. Yes.
published author has more credibility and more
Yes.
authenticity. So
Yes.
that's the insight from Manbeena for all of you. Manbeena, to conclude, there must be some parts of the book, either
Yeah.
a chapter or a paragraph or some thoughts, some insights, which are personally favorite to you. Do you want to share maybe 3 of them? Besides the excerpt
Um,
that you read, if there are some parts of the book which truly kind of gave you a lot of energy, that that you're doing justice to the book and you're doing justice to Sheila Anand's story.
it's the little things. It's the small things that Sheila told me, and when she was talking to me. I mean, after I came back from Switzerland, we were talking over the phone every day, page after page. I would talk to her, and she would tell her story, and it was the small things that came out about, like
So
her,
give us 3 small things which you remember
her
and are top
relationship
of the
with
mind.
Mark was very beautiful. Her husband, the first husband, Mark. I think it was a very beautiful love story.
Right.
When I heard from her, it was amazing. Another thing is about her
He
family.
succumbed to cancer or something, right?
Yes, yes, yes. And but the
Okay.
love story was beautiful. I
Okay.
mean, it is such the way they met and the way they fell in love, and it was a beautiful love story. Just like out of it's a
So
movie stuff.
those were the probably the best years of her journey
Yes,
in her youth.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
her time
The-
with Mark, and
yeah, yeah.
you covered this in the book
I
extensively.
have covered that in the book. So yeah, I
Okay.
really like that love story. and also her childhood. Okay,
Right.
how she born into a simple family, and how there's this young girl who has no idea of what her future is going to be. She's just going there to see and listen to Rajneesh and falls in love with him, and suddenly her very simple life becomes this, you
Right.
know. So
Right.
I think her former years where she's just a simple person, and this is the second and third, I would say, the things that happened in Oregon. They were like mind blowing. Or
Right.
it's so difficult. Where the part writing about in this entire book, the most difficult part was writing about the American period. Oh my God, how many people I consulted. There was so much confusion. Nobody had the right facts. I had to contact so many people. And when that part finished, I was like, it was like I had finished the book. It was rest was so easy. That part was so difficult. It was very challenging, but it is very interesting also.
So all the research and the reflections that you had to get from several people was the challenging part.
Yes, yes, and there were
Okay.
so many contradictions in it. It
Right.
was not
Right.
an easy thing to write about.
Different versions of stories from different people.
Everybody had a different version. Everybody had a different version, and you get so confused. I mean, different people have their different thoughts, or this happened, or the dates are. It was a very challenging part to write about.
Great. So thank you so much, Manbeena. Brilliant speaking with you and getting insights into the book called Nothing to Lose, which is the biography, the official biography of Ama Sheila Anand. And thank you for making the time to be with us on the author experience conversation that we have every Sunday with authors like you. And thank you for the thoughts that you shared with our aspiring writers also. If there are any closing comments which you would like to share, any closing insights that you would like to share with the readers and viewers, please feel free, and then we shall conclude.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And I think you've asked me great questions, and I've had a chance to express myself. Thanks for that, and I've really
You're
enjoyed
welcome.
being here on your show.
And all the best with the book going forward. Hopefully the book will also kind of start selling in bookstores, because most of the bookstores are closed, because my book Karma Kari Kid Power actually hit the shelves around 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, and the
Oh,
lockdown happened, and all that effort of marketing and distribution went waste. And then we
yeah,
relaunched it now on the 26th of November, which we
yeah,
celebrate as the Social Justice and Citizen Action Day, because that is the
yeah.
day when the Constitution was adopted in 1949. So thank you so much, Manbeena. Learned a lot about what happened in the commune, what did not happen in the commune, from the thoughts that you shared with us. And of course, one of the biggest takeaways for all our readers, for all our viewers, please don't get misled by blind beliefs and people who are just faking it. And please choose wisely, failing which it'll leave you very defeated, very cheated, right? If you are following some religion, probably just follow your religion, and don't fall for all these new age gurus and godmen and fraudmen, as I call them, sad gurus, as I call them. So thank you so much, and thank you, Manbeena. Thank you for that delightful experience, and all the best for your book. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
Have a great year going forward too.
you
All right.
too.
Bye bye. Thank you.